Thank you for coming. We are today announcing our outline of our plan in the state Senate to balance our $6.4 billion budget deficit. We use the $6.4 billion number because we think that it's crucial to think about the long-term structural balance of our deficit. And we should not delude ourselves in using one-time money to solve a short-term issue. We literally believe that we should balance the long-term budget so that the next generation doesn't have to pay for our kicking the can down the street. To accomplish this, we're going to call for a 7% across-the-board cut in both bienniums, both of the next two bienniums. So for fiscal 10 and 11, and fiscal 12 and 13. That's 7% represents $2.4 billion in cuts. And that would be very difficult to achieve. It will have real impacts on delivery of services throughout the state, but it's necessary to make that level of budget reductions to attain fiscal balance. In addition, we have the $2 billion of federal money, roughly $2 billion, 1.9 to $2 billion. That is one-time money to help us through a transitional period. And finally, we will need roughly $2 billion in new revenue to accomplish balance, permanent balance of our state budget. This will balance through the year 2013. This represents shared sacrifice by all sectors of Minnesota's populace. It will take shared sacrifice on the cut side by our schools, our cities, our counties, our higher ed system, and our state services. It will take shared sacrifice by some taxpayers. We hope those with the best ability to pay in this difficult financial time. And we think, based on our listening to Minnesota citizens over the last 2 months, and we're going to continue to listen, we think that Minnesotans are prepared for a shared sacrifice solution to our very difficult situation. The one that is as bad, potentially, as the 1930s. We hope it doesn't get to that, but we know this is more challenging than the 81-82 situation already. And the last forecast did not even, Senator Cohen keeps pointing out that the last forecast we got on March 3rd did not include the latest bad news on growth numbers. So we already know, standing here today, that this is a more severe situation than is readily apparent. This proposal has $1 billion more in general fund cuts than proposed by the governor to date. Now we know this is just a soft point. We know the governor's redoing his budget, so this right now is just a comparison to his first budget, which we know he's going to redo, and we presume he will have additional reductions and perhaps additional revenue from what he's already got. So all we can do now, though, is compare to what he's going to do next week. And this today represents $1 billion more in 2010 and 11 than the governor's in cuts. $1 billion more in cuts than the governor's. We point out again that in our judgment, there's no way to take 40% of the budget, K-12 education, off the table and resolve, honestly, the fiscal problem that we're in. So this does include reductions in general spending. This will prevent, we do not agree, as Senator Bach puts together the tax bill, we do not agree with the level of reductions in local government aids that the governor has proposed. There will be some reductions, but Senator Bach's committee, we agree with the governor on public safety. We just think that public safety, in terms of a priority, we think that that includes our local police departments and sheriffs. And so to the extent that we can protect local aids for that purpose, we believe that's a better package and one we think the governor can support. This will affect senior citizens, disabled persons, nursing homes, and local hospitals, but we do not believe that an unfair burden should be placed on the most needy in our society. So our proposal does not have the extent of cuts that the governor has proposed in the healthcare area. We do not think, we disagree with him on that, and we hope to be able to convince him that less heavy cuts in the healthcare area is a better idea. We will not raid the healthcare access fund as the governor has proposed. Or let me say it more favorably. We are not going to use the healthcare access fund in the same way that the governor is using it, because we believe, as we have for the last several sessions, that that money has been set aside to provide coverage of healthcare. And we think, we would like to convince the governor, as we've been successful in the last couple of years, that that's not a proper use of the healthcare access fund to try to balance the budget. And I think you'll see in Senator Pappas's budget, in her detail when she's fully developed it, that we intend to protect students with regards to the combination of federal Pell aids and Minnesota aids in terms of financial aid. Those details are not all worked out, but we are not going to replace Minnesota aids with federal aids and leave students at a net zero. We intend to use that federal money to protect students because there will be tuition increases at the institutions. There has to be with these kinds of cuts. The governor relies on, in his first budget, this perhaps will change, we hope it'll change, he relies on about 2/3 of one-time money. This results in a lot less, maybe less than 1/3 in the short term. In the long term, we're not using any one-time money. We're making the level of budget reductions necessary and adding permanent revenue into the system that's necessary to get permanent balance in our budget. One last point. Has something been passed out? There was a Standard & Poor's. Has that been passed out? This is why we think it's so crucial to get genuine, long-term budgetary balance. We will lose our bond ratings if we do not structurally balance our budget. It will be difficult, but it's our sense, my sense, that Minnesotans do understand the severity of the economic situation. They would like us to make these very difficult decisions now, but do it in a way that shares the sacrifice and protects our long-term investments in our public services so that when the economy does come back, and it will, we're able to make strategic investments in things like early childhood and infrastructure. If we don't resolve and balance now, we will be like California and other states that never get ahead of the game and are constantly cutting budgets and raising taxes. Let's take our medicine now, make the tough decisions, and prepare ourselves for a return of a positive economy, hopefully within a year or two.